Okay guys, welcome back. It's time to put our awesome little world onto an Apple iOS device. So beside me, I have my iPad Air 2. You're going to need an actual device to do this, of course, and we also need two other things. Now, Apple's software for developing apps is called Xcode. So open up the App Store if you don't already have Xcode installed, and in the search, type in Xcode. This is Xcode here. It's a software. It's Mac only, unfortunately. So you guys on Windows, you would have to find a Windows alternative. Have a quick Google search to see what's currently available. I believe there used to be one called Firebox or something like that. Anyway, for the guys on Mac who want to put this on the iOS device, you need to download Xcode. Now, if you don't already have Xcode installed, then pause the video because it's about 4.5 gig in size, so it's going to take quite a while. But I've already got Xcode installed. It's down here. And now all what we need to do is build this for iOS. So if we go into File and Build Settings, I've already switched the platform to iOS as it takes a minute or two to do this. So that's the first thing you need to do. You need to click on iOS and switch platform. Once that's done, I've currently set mine to be in debug mode and a development build. But once that's done, come down and click on Player Settings. Now, make sure the company name and product name are in. And now it's a case of going through each of the menus. So let's start off with resolution and presentation. I've got mine set to landscape left, as that's the way my image target is orientated, and because I developed the app in landscape mode, it makes sense. I've got allowed full screen, hide the status bar, and that's pretty much it. Everything else is a default. Now the icon, this can be done here. You can put an icon in. If you don't, then it will just simply use the Unity logo. That can also be done inside Xcode software. Come down and click on the splash image. Exactly the same rules. If you want to add a splash image when the app first runs, this is where you'd put that. Then go into other settings. We don't need to mess around with the debugging, it's default. Now in other settings, this is the area where you need to take a little bit of care, as if you're going to hit any problems inside Xcode, it will probably be down to this. Now, make sure the bundle identifier is in this structure where you have com, full stop, your company name or your name, full stop, the application name. I've just put DH for Duck Hunt. I've put version 1, the build is 0, and everything else is pretty much left as standard. But the scripting backend, I have set to IL2 CPP, okay? Now that's the scripting backend that I use when I'm building apps on Xcode. However, if you come into the Unity preferences, which on Windows I believe is under Edit Preferences, then when we come down to External Tools, scroll down to the bottom, IL2CPP and Xcode require the Java NDK package. Now if you don't have this filled out, then your build will not run correctly in Xcode. So download the package from Oracle's website and save it somewhere that won't move on the machine, and then navigate to the folder and hook it up. And likewise, if you don't have the SDK for Android or the Java SDK, then download these 3 and hook them up. Okay, so that said, the next thing is the camera usage description. If you don't have this filled out and we're using Vuforia, then you're going to run into a problem with the permissions. This is the line that we're required to put in, that basically when you install the app, it would then pop up and say, this app wants to use your camera, do you allow it, okay or cancel. So that's what that bit is there. Then as we scroll down, I'm using the iPad, so I've just got iPhone and iPad as a target device. But another important area is the target SDK. It has to be a device. It can't be the simulator, as you can't run Vuforia in a simulator SDK. Now they've just updated Vuforia and I haven't found it yet, but I'm going to have a look to see if that's now changed. I seriously doubt it though, so just leave device SDK selected. And I've put my minimum iOS version at 8. Scrolling down, everything else is just standard, but on the XR settings, make sure Vuforia Augmented Reality is ticked. Okay, so if all that is set up pretty much the same way, all you have to do is build and run. So I've already got an iOS build, so mine will overwrite. There we go, and append. Now what this will do is it's going to convert everything the same way that we did for the Android, but it's going to create an Xcode project. When it's done, then Xcode should automatically open the project. Now if you're installing Xcode for the first time and we're running in debug mode, sometimes you get a message saying that it needs to install additional components or something like that. Now, if you've only just installed Xcode and we're running in debug mode, sometimes you get a little message that pops up that's just agree to it and install it, but then you'd have to close Xcode and do this build again to make your life easier, basically. Okay, so it's nearly done. Now we had problems with the Android one, so in theory we should be lucky with the iOS version. It's normally the other way around, to be honest. Okay, I can see that Xcode is opening and it's saying that it's closing any existing projects in Xcode. Now the third and final thing that we need to get this running, and it's done. There we go. If I switch to Xcode now, here we go. It's now building the Unity iPhone. If you don't see this lot, come over here and click on the top link and it will open up this panel. Now, normally you guys will have this kind of setup, okay? Now, to make this run, you do need an Apple developer license. So I've already got one, so all I have to do is select my certificate. If you have one but haven't connected it to Xcode, then you would add an account. And if you don't have one at all, then jump across to Google and type in Apple Developer Program and enroll there and get yourself a profile. Now, while I selected my profile, it's decided to automatically run. So I'm going to pick up my iPad and unlock it. Now I can see the app, but don't touch it, just leave it alone. Don't try to open it from the dashboard, as Xcode will automatically launch the app. Okay, in the bottom corner now we can see the debug code coming in. So we're starting the engine, and in a second I should have the Unity splash screen. Maybe 2 seconds. There we go. Okay, Duck Hunt would like to access the camera. Okay. And now it's running through. And there we go. We have it. So we have the annoying quack and it's working brilliantly, guys. Oh, good shot. Okay. And the button at the top to exit works too, which is nice. Okay, so I'll stop this running and just have a mini recap for a second, as that happened a little bit quickly. Now, once Xcode launches, it will pre-fill all the information, excluding the signing. You have to select your developer account. Now, on the left-hand side, you will have, as it's building, your device will appear up at the top here. And if it doesn't, by the way, you can come across to the, I think it's the build settings, and under supported platforms, make sure that you're on either iPhones or iOS, and then you will have the simulators and the iPad or iPhone or whatever's connected appear up at the top. Now, you will have a bunch of warnings down the left hand side. The most typical, especially if it's going to fail with a red error, will be an Apple Mac O linker error, and that is giving reference to this here. the NDK from Android and Java. Okay, so if you have an error which is from the Mac O, 9 times out of 10 it's this error here. Now if you have any other errors, by all means you can always ask me, but as you'll find with iOS development moving forward, you won't be the first and you definitely won't be the last to run into a problem. So you can ask me any question you want. However, if you want something immediate, an immediate answer, just grab the error and jump into Google and I'm sure you'll find the answer there just as quick. Okay, so all good. We have just successfully installed the game onto iOS, onto my iPad, and everything ran according to plan, much better than the Android version, which is surprising. Now I'm going to switch back to Android for the next section, as we're now going to have a look at the game controller. We're going to build a game over panel. We're going to animate the dog sliding in and everything else, and then build it again to the phone if you want. And then you're really going to see this coming together, guys. We're going to have the scores adding, the lives disappearing. We're going to have a look at a little bit of simple animation for the dog to slide in and out, and then ultimately move on to the intro scene. Okay, cool. I'll see you in the next video.